when the person is placed inside this brazen bowl, it's just like cooking a turkey in your oven.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the cruelest and most unusual punishments ever inflicted on individuals throughout history.
Please! What are you doing? Please stop! Please stop!
Number 10. Peter Niers, the breaking wheel. Peter Niers was a prolific serial killer in 16th century Germany. He was finally caught in 1581 and sentenced to be broken on the wheel after being convicted of 544 murders. The wheel was a fairly common method of execution in Europe during the Middle Ages and early Renaissance.
In addition to being made of hefty wood, these wheels were outfitted with a metal rim, though sometimes they would be modified so that they could inflict further damage with protruding iron blades.
The punishment typically came in two acts. First, the condemned would be tied down and then hit repeatedly with a large wheel, shattering their bones.
Another approach was to tie a person to the wheel and hit his or her limbs with iron hammers or bars while the wheel was rotated.
Afterwards, they would be staked to another wheel and either decapitated or set ablaze. In the case of Niers, he received 42 merciless blows after being tortured for 2 days. He was then struck with the wheel from his ankles upward and ultimately slain by quartering. Number 9. The Citizens of Kronstadt, Impalement. There is a reason why Vlad III, famously known as Vlad the Impaler, earned his grisly nickname.
Vlad spent much of his life constructing a fearsome persona. In some ways, his reputation was so extreme that it haunts the entire world.
Impalement was a somewhat common method of execution at the time, usually reserved for crimes against the state. A penetrating object like a stake or hook was inserted into the victim, and they'd be left to die. The method was inhuman but effective.
It's a gruesome way to die, and thus makes an incredibly effective psychological warfare tactic.
In 1459, the Saxon city of Kronstadt in Transylvania decided to throw political support to one of Vlad's rivals. The cruel dictator responded with abject barbarity. He impaled 30,000 of its citizens outside the city walls and burned Kronstadt to the ground. According to legend, Vlad ate his dinner that day among his victims so he could watch them suffer.
The world would come to know him as Dracula.
Number 8. Saint Bartholomew Flaying.
You flayed him.
Peeled a few bits, removed a few others.
Saint Bartholomew was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus of Nazareth. According to Christian belief, Bartholomew traveled east and eventually landed himself in Armenia. There, he managed to convert the king to Christianity and was executed for his efforts. According to some traditions and beliefs, Bartholomew was decapitated after getting flayed. Flaying, or skinning alive, was a popular method of torture and execution in Mesopotamia.
The point of this form of torture and death is to create as much pain as possible.
The victim would suffer tremendously before dying from blood loss or infection. Traditional depictions of the apostle often show him without his skin. This method of execution inspired Christian leaders to make Bartholomew the patron saint of leather workers. Number 7. Yuan Chonghuan, Ling Qi, aka the Death by 1,000 Cuts.
What can I do for you?
You can die slowly, cut into 1,000 pieces.
Hardly complimentary, Your Highness.
Yuan Chonghuan was field marshal of the Ming forces in northeastern China. In 1629, he repelled a Jurchen invasion from the walls of Beijing. Despite his success, Yuan received intense criticism from the imperial court. The pressure forced the Chongzhen emperor to sentence him to execution via Ling Qi, or death by 1,000 cuts. Yuan was tied to a post as bits of his body were removed one piece at a time. During the Yuan dynasty, the Ling Qi would last for about 100 cuts. In the Ming dynasty, however, the method could stretch as far as 3,000. While it was normally a quick death taking around 20 minutes, Yuan's screams were allegedly heard for half a day. Number 6. Ishikawa Goemon, boiled alive. Ishikawa Goemon was a real-life Japanese Robin Hood. The legendary outlaw robbed from the rich and gave his loot to the poor. He also allegedly attempted several political assassinations of warlords, including the powerful Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Goemon was captured and sentenced to death by boiling along with his young son. Accounts of this event have varied over the years, but most agree on one detail. As they were immersed in a large cauldron, Goemon held his son above his head in an attempt to save him. The outcome of this remains disputed. Some claim that this action moved the executioner and the child was spared. Others say that both father and son ultimately met the same agonizing fate. Number 5. The Prisoners of Sono, rat torture.
Once the bucket gets hot enough, Detective, the rat is gonna want out.
The 80 Years' War was the Dutch offshoot of the tension between Catholics and Protestants that spread throughout Europe during the Renaissance. Sono was one of the leaders of the Hurgen, a group of rebellious Calvinist nobles. His tactics were borderline savage, having been the first known individual to employ the rat torture. Sono would take some of his Catholic prisoners and tie them to a table bare-chested. He would then fill a large bowl with rats and place it upside down on the prisoner's stomach. The bowl would get heated with white-hot coals, panicking the rats inside.
Did you know that your average rat can chew through a steel drain pipe?
With no other routes of escape, the rats would eventually gnaw and claw their way through the victim.
Please! What are you doing? Please stop! Please stop!
Number 4. Jujhar Khan Bakshi, execution by elephant. Death by rampaging elephant was a mode of execution popular in parts of Asia and India.
The elephants didn't just crush a man fast. Those beasts were trained to make death slow and painful.
These were territories where elephants were bred to be used as weapons of war. During the back half of the 16th century, much of India was ruled by Mughal Emperor Akbar the Great. During one of his military campaigns, Akbar was traveling through the territory of Gujarat. There, a woman spoke to Akbar and accused military chief Jujhar Khan Bakshi of murdering her son. After an inquiry, Bakshi confessed. As punishment, he was thrown at the feet of a war elephant named Munmil and was trampled to death.
The Europeans that watched the feat sometimes compared it to being broken on the wheel since the mahout made the bashing last so long.
Number 3. Mythrates the Soldier, Scaphism. Mythrates was a Persian soldier who was executed after bragging about killing King Cyrus. He was sentenced to scaphism, a Persian method of torture. The victim was strung up between two boats or a hollowed-out log and force-fed milk and honey. The supposed sweetness of this mixture would then attract flies, wasps, and bees that would then attack the victim for days.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees!
In addition, the milk and honey would cause the individual's bowels to rebel, resulting in terrible diarrhea, which would in turn breed worms. The combination of all these horrible effects would eventually lead to the victim dying a prolonged and miserable death.
That is the most horrific thing I've ever heard.
But still, all the milk and honey you could eat.
In the case of Mythrates, it allegedly took him 17 days to give up the ghost. Number 2. Saint Eustace, the Brazen Bull. Say what you will about ancient civilizations, they were nothing if not inventive when it came to execution. The brazen bull was a device supposedly invented during ancient Greece. From a distance, it appeared to be merely a life-sized bronze statue of a bull. However, this structure was hollow and fitted with a door on one side. Underneath, a large fire would be lit as victims were shoved inside the belly of the bull. They were then essentially roasted.
When the person is placed inside this brazen bull, it's just like cooking a turkey in your oven.
In Rome, Saint Eustace was a pagan general who converted to Christianity. As punishment for not submitting to the Roman gods, Emperor Hadrian sentenced Eustace and his family to death by brazen bull.
I don't know what kind of person would think of that. It's absolutely cruel, it's absolutely sadistic, and completely inhumane.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Jesus of Nazareth, Crucifixion. Anyone with a passing familiarity with Christianity knows that the Romans were fond of crucifixion.
The Roman soldiers were professional killers, and especially they were good at killing people who were rebel leaders, which is how they saw Jesus.
After stirring up unrest and potential rebellion, Jesus of Nazareth was arrested by Roman governor Pontius Pilate. He was stripped of his clothing and then nailed to a large wooden cross. While contemporary portrayals show wounds in Jesus' hands, he may actually have been nailed through his wrists as well as his feet. Victims of crucifixion would often endure agonizing pain for hours or days until they died by asphyxiation from the strain of the weight. According to biblical accounts, Jesus suffered for around 6 hours before ultimately succumbing. Human beings have spent centuries devising cruel and horrific ways to hurt one another. If you're a history buff with insight into other torturous methods, sound off in the comments below.
This is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel? Interesting.